really looking forward to seeing if the secondary takes a step back. I don't think they will. I think they're going to still play really good. I mean, they got a bunch of dudes back there that have been having a lot of game experience, and I mean, you can't produce the same output of play that X did, Xavier Watts did for that secondary for the last 2 years. It's hard to do. He led the country in interceptions and forced turnovers. Just all around ball player. What's going on, You Don't Know Ball Podcast Nation? Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is just your boy Isaac episode. So Jack, Caleb, and Alex were all busy today. So I get to be in charge of the show. So you get to hear what I want to say, and nobody else can give me backlash for that. So no, I'm just kidding. But today's topic is going to be the top 4 teams by all the Power 4 conferences that I believe have the best chance to make the playoffs. I know that there's a group of 5 bid that goes out every year, and then there's a couple other conference championship non-winning seeds that go out. I'm just giving out the top 4 teams by conference that I think have the best shot of making the playoffs so far. So, of course, we're going to start with the independents. I'm just kidding. They're not Power 4, but I still think Notre Dame's a really strong contender to make the playoffs this year. They bring back Jeremiah Love. They have a pretty good receiving core with Malachi Fields coming in from Virginia. They had Jaden Greathouse coming back for his junior year. They have, of course, Jeremiah Love, all-star running back, and with his partner in crime, Jadarian Price. I'm really excited to see how the run game looks for the Irish this year. But both those guys coming back, and supposedly the O-line being a lot better than it was last year, with just much better depth. I believe that's what a lot of analysts have been saying, especially Greg McElroy when he mentioned the Notre Dame Fighting Irish offensive line being the best in college football. So a lot to look forward to that unit. Defensively, I really like the linebacker room. They had Jalen Sneed, Drake Bowen. I think they're really solid linebackers. I think they're going to be making a lot of plays for the Irish this year. I really like Leonard Moore. I know Christian Gray has his plays where he's 100% just stellar, just looks great, looks like a all-conference, all-American, and then these guys plays where he doesn't look like that. It's a consistency thing, and I think he's really gonna take a big step this year going into his sophomore year because he was a true freshman out there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Christian Gray could do after his freshman year. I mean, he's got a lot of game experience now under his belt, so look for him to grow. I like to see what the other true freshman corner could do, Leonard Moore. He was a AP All-American freshman, the freshman of the year. He played lights out down the stretch when we needed him when Benjamin Morrison got hurt. So I'm also looking forward to seeing how big of a step he takes to being even better than he was last year. Safeties, I know we brought in Jalen Stroman from Virginia as well. Virginia was really hit hard. Oh, he's from Virginia Tech. Sorry, my bad. But I guess Notre Dame really likes those Virginia players. So Jalen Stroman, he was a really good safety for the Hokies this last season. He's going to come into the safety room who just lost Xavier Watts. We still have a Don Schuler back there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if the secondary takes a step back. I don't think they will. I think they're going to still play really good. I mean, they got a bunch of dudes back there that have been having a lot of game experience. And I mean, you can't produce the same output of play that X did, Xavier Watts did for that secondary for the last 2 years. It's hard to do. He led the country in interceptions and forced turnovers. Just all around ball player. There'll be a big place to keep an eye on this season for the Irish. Other than that, I know Kenny Minchie and CJ Carr are at a quarterback battle right now with Steve Angeli transferring out. It's gonna be interesting. I know Kenny has the edge right now as of 8/14, so Thursday of August. It's sounding like Kenny's got a edge over CJ Carr. At first, my first reaction, as long as my Notre Dame friends, Jonathan Holloway and Blake Monroe, we're like, whoa, how could you possibly, how could that be? I mean, after seeing what CJ Carr did in the spring game and the spring game before that, and just everybody, the word around the campus and the facility, they just think the world of CJ. And then coming into this camp, now Kenny Minchie has a slight edge over him. I was a little shocked. I mean, everybody is. I mean, you can't imagine that Kenny Minchie is like, I mean, if given Mike Denbrock's past record with quarterbacks, he's like Jaden Daniels. He could throw and run, and I think Kenny Minchie's got a little bit of Jaden Daniels in him. I feel like the more and more that I think about it, the more and more I like it. I think Kenny Minchie's a really good quarterback. He's got a lot of he's a good athlete. Obviously, going back to his backflip in the spring game, I think he's really started to work on his throwing mechanics. I really think he's toned that in to a point where he's competing with CJ Carr, who's thought to have the better arm out of the two quarterbacks. So maybe the way that he's able to escape and get out of the pocket and create plays with his legs is sort of giving him the edge right now, especially with Denbrock, who like quarterbacks who can make plays with their legs and throw it downfield and all that other great stuff that Jaden Daniels was able to do back in LSU. Be on the lookout for that. I mean, it's going to be very interesting down these next 2 weeks before they kick off against Miami on Sunday in at Miami. Keep an eye on that. And obviously, I think Notre Dame very high on this team this year. So I feel like they could get to the playoffs and potentially make another national title run. A lot to like there. I really do. Okay, let's get into some actual Power Four conferences, shall we? We'll start with the Big Ten. My top four schools to make the Big Ten, the playoffs for those spots are Penn State, Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State. Not in that order. It's just the way I wrote them down. I mean, I'm not ranking them. Obviously, Penn State brings back the most production from last season. They had Katron Allen, they have Nick Singleton, they have Drew Aller, they have a really good revamped receiving group with Trevor Pena and a couple other transfers. I mean, it's a lot to like here. I mean, they brought in Ohio State's defensive coordinator. It'll come to me at some point, but I think James Franklin's really trying to make the next step of being able to get over that big game win. I mean, Penn State's been excellent with beating teams that they need to beat, that they're going to beat, that they're better than. It's the teams that they're as equal talent that or as good that they struggle with. I mean, we saw it last year in Notre Dame in the playoffs, last year against Ohio State at home, you name it. You think of Penn State, you think of James Franklin, you think of the inability to win the big one or win the game that they should be able to compete in or potentially pull out a win against good teams. So I like them in the playoffs. I think they're gonna have a great season this year. They have really good leadership. So it's Jim Knowles, by the way. Jim Knowles came in from Ohio State, so he's looking to just wreak havoc on everybody's offense that comes across the Nittany Lions, and I feel like he will. I mean, that last season for Ohio State, he was lights out in the playoffs. So let's see if he can keep that momentum to the Penn State Nittany Lions. All right, next team, Oregon. I mean, we have Dan Lanning, who's revamped his roster. Dante Moore, he sat a year behind Dylan Gabriel after he transferred in from UCLA. I know they've had a couple of injuries on the receiver room and a couple of suspensions, actually. There's a little bit of a skeptical there. I necessarily want to say that I'm completely sold on Oregon making the playoffs. I just know that they're just going to be a really good team. I mean, a Dan Lanning led team is going to be really solid. I mean, they've won 10 games the last 3 years, I believe. They won a New Year's Six Bowl, not last season, but the year prior. So, and they made it to the undefeated and got boat raced by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl last year. But I feel like they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. I feel like they're going to come back this season, do it all over again. They have that big game against Penn State at Penn State, which is going to be a whiteout. So there's going to be some tests for this Oregon team, especially Dante Moore, who just sat behind Dylan Gabriel and tried to learn as much as possible because he came in as a freshman, 5-star from Detroit, going to UCLA. I think he's going to tear it up instantly. Has a couple bumps in the road. We'll see if he can. Then he transfers to Oregon and he takes a seat behind Dylan Gabriel. See if he learned anything. And he's gonna have to put it on the field fast because they have that big game on. I think it's week 5 at Happy Valley. So a lot to look out and for the Ducks this season. I think they're going to be a really good team as well. All right, this takes us to Michigan. Obviously, coming off the 2 big wins to end the season off last year with Ohio State and Alabama. There's a lot to love here. I mean, they brought in Bryce Underwood. He's the highest paid freshman quarterback anywhere. I mean, you can't deny that the kid's got talent. If he can actually just light a spark in that offense instantly. Kind of like Trevor Lawrence did for Clemson. They had Kelly Bryant back back in the day, and he was doing okay. He wasn't really that all around great talent that Lawrence was. And then I feel like Lawrence's first drive against Texas A&M, he came in and was like, boom, 60-yard touchdown pass, boom, just moving it down the field over and over, and they won the national championship that year. So I want to see if Bryce Underwood's got the same effect. He's got a rocket of an arm, really athletic. I think they got a great running back room. The receivers are underrated. I think Samaj Morgan's in for a big year. They got another receiver that just got granted the number one. A lot to like there. He's gonna. I mean, I think this offense guaranteed will be better than last year. Last year all they had was the run, and they couldn't throw the ball to save their lives. So if I'm a Michigan fan, I'm looking at if Bryce Underwood lights that spark, gets us going, and then you obviously know the defense is going to be good. Wink Martindale comes back for his second year. They were on a great run from the second half of that Indiana game till the end of that Bama game. Let's see if they can keep that momentum moving on throughout this season. So it's a lot to love here for the Michigan Wolverines if I'm a Michigan fan, but I'm not. So that takes us to our last team. That takes us to defending national champions, Ohio State Buckeyes. They have a quarterback battle as well too. They have Lincoln Keenholz taking on Julian Sayin. Looks like Julian Sayin's got the edge right now. I think he's going to be named the starter. Obviously, they have the best player in college football on both sides of the ball. Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. I mean, great ball players for the Buckeyes. As much as I hate Ohio State, I'll give them respect that they absolutely have the best players in the sport right now. So I think for me is who's going to replace Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I mean, both were 1,000-yard rushers. I haven't really heard any big names from that backfield as of yet. I know they got a couple of good underclassmen who are believed to be pretty good and will be able to not recreate the production they had, but still make some strides to maybe have 800 yards a game, or maybe have one 1,000-yard rusher and another 500-yard rusher. Who knows? I mean, the offensive line's got some questions too. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this new Buckeyes offense is going to look. They don't have Chip Kelly anymore. He went to the NFL. They have Brian, I forgot his last name, but the receivers coach that did all the recruiting for all those receivers that they've had, Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigwell, you name it, all those great receivers. He's now the offensive coordinator. So it's going to be interesting. Absolutely looking forward to it. If I'm a Buckeyes fan, to see how this offense, and what better way to start it against Texas, another team that will come up later on in this show that is going to be lights out. I mean, it's going to be a test at Columbus, so we'll see what this Buckeyes team is really made of in week one. So, and obviously, the defense is going to be good. I know they have Matt Patricia. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Maybe I'm just a hater. I mean, I was a Lions fan, and he kind of just burned that program to the ground. So, good luck with that. Hopefully, he's not terrible for you guys like he was for the Lions, but they bring back a lot of players that they have. They bring back a lot of young players. I wouldn't say they bring back a lot of production from last year because they lost a lot from last year, but they still have that leader in Caleb Downs. I'm not really worried if I'm a Buckeyes fan about our defense right now. I'm more looking at who's going to be throwing the ball at Jeremiah Smith. So take it as you leave it. All right, that concludes our Big Ten. So to refresh, it's Penn State, Oregon, and Michigan and Ohio State to make the highest four teams, in my opinion, to make the playoffs. Let's go to the Big 12. Deep conference, really deep. A lot of good teams. They didn't even rank who was going to finish last or who's going to finish first in this conference because they know that this is such a deep conference of good teams. It's a quarterback-rich conference. I mean, you can't go wrong here. So it made this hard to limit it down to four teams. So the first one, these are the teams I have. So we have Arizona State, Baylor, Utah, Texas Tech. These are the four teams that I think are going to be have the highest chances to make the playoffs. I like Arizona State. Obviously, they bring back Sam Lovett, but they lost Cam Scatterboo. They bring back Jordan Tyson. They still have those playmakers out wide and at quarterback. They just need to figure out who's going to take on the workload like Scatterboo did. They brought in Kanye Udo from I think Army or Navy, one of the military schools. He has a lot of the same traits as Cam Scatterboo. So and obviously he's not going to be able to reproduce what Scatterboo did for that team, but he's got a lot of the same skills. He's a thumper. He gets downhill. He runs through people's faces. A lot of the things that Scatterwood did for the Sun Devils. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe they improve. Maybe they don't. They won a lot of one-score games last year. So that's what's scaring me for this team this year, because usually if you win, I think they won like 7-1 in close games last year, one-score games. So the next year is a little bit step back or regression from the year prior. So be on the lookout for that. Be careful when you're betting on Big 12 champions or whoever to win the Big 12. Just they won a lot of one-score games, so let's see if they're able to replicate that again going into this season. Baylor, obviously, I like Skylar. Skylar, is it Robinson or is it? I think it's him. I'm got to look at Baylor's quarterback, but I really like what he's able to do. I like their coach. I'm not as well known in Baylor's roster, but I know that they were like 4-4, 3-3 or whatever at the beginning of the season. They lost that heartbreaker against Colorado earlier in the season, and then they rattled off a bunch of wins to end the season off. And now they're kicking off against Auburn this year, so it's a good test for them. I mean, you can either go into that game think you're gonna knock off a top SEC school or was a top SEC school and make a statement for your team for the rest of the season, or you just come too short. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I believe in Baylor. I think they're going to be a surprising team for the Big 12 and the entire country. Obviously, they're one of the top 4 teams and to make the playoffs, in my opinion, in this conference. Next, we have Utah, the Utah Utes. I'm extremely high on them. Wish I remembered that quarterback's name they brought in, but apparently he's a dual threat. He could run, he could throw, create with his legs. I really like that for Utah. I think Kyle Whittingham will not do what he did last season. The injuries killed him. I've said this before. Injuries really hurt this team last year. I think one more year of Kyle Whittingham, he's going to get his team into the playoffs. He's going to win the Big 12. I think Utah's in for a huge season this year. And if they could just stay healthy, I think it'll be a fun time down in Utah for this season. And then my last team for this Big 12 is Texas Tech. A lot of money in the NIL, a lot of moving parts, a lot of new faces, a lot of new everything. I think that Jerry Maguire has got a really good team going into this year, but if they could just get everybody on the same page. I know it's a lot of new faces. They brought back their starting quarterback from last season. If he could stay healthy, they're going to be really good. I just really hope that this Texas Tech team is able to make all these moving parts work. Not a deep analysis on that team, but be on the lookout for these 4 teams: Arizona State, Baylor, Utah, and Texas Tech. All right. This takes us to the ACC. Obviously, we got Clemson, then we got Miami, then we got Georgia Tech, then we got Louisville. We'll start with Clemson. You know who they got. They got Cade Klubnik, really good receiving core. They got 2 of the top 10, probably top 10 picks in the NFL with Peter Woods and really good defensive end. Dang, I'll remember him later, probably not. But you know who I'm talking about. They're like the second highest in production return. Dabo Swinney's trying to prove that you don't necessarily need to dump a boatload of money into the transfer portal. He did this through recruiting and developing talent over 4 years. And now this is the year they've had circled on their calendar. Like, this is going to be the one. They got Cade coming back. They have 2-3 receivers that are really looking to take the next step. They were catching on fire at the end of last season. I know they lost to Texas, but they were throwing the rock everywhere and running that ball all over them. And it's going to be interesting for the Clemson this year. So I like Clemson to win the conference. I don't really think this is a deep conference like the Big 12 was, but I think Clemson's going to be really, really dominant going into this season and coming in. And what better way to kick off the season against LSU, another really good team who's got national championship hopes. All right, next we have Miami. They bring in Carson Beck, and that's pretty much it that I know of. I mean, the offensive coordinator came out today believing that he's got another number 1 pick in the draft. it's going to be hard to replicate what that Miami team did last year. I know they hired a new defensive coordinator. Mario Cristobal is trying to address the problems on defense because if they just had a better defense, this team is a playoff team last season. They had Cam Ward, they had Xavier Restrepo, they had all the weapons and tools you could think of, and they just still fell short. 9-3 season, 9-4. That's unacceptable. You had that talent. It's unacceptable to finish with that record and not make the playoffs. So I know they poured in a lot of money into Carson Beck. So we'll see if it pans out for him. I know their receiving room's not as deep as they were last year, but they got talent. Let's just see how that defense is. You can have the best offense in the country and still not make the playoffs. They proved that last year. Cam Ward was by far the best quarterback last year, and they still just could not stop anybody. That Syracuse game, when Kyle McCord threw for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns or whatever he did, it was insane that they were up 28 to like 7 at half, and Syracuse came all the way back and won that game. Props to them. But Miami, you sold my parlay, so ever do that again, I might wring your neck. But no, I'm just kidding. But Miami's still really high in my top 4 for this conference to make the playoffs. So not much. It's going to be interesting this season for the Canes, and they kick off the season against Notre Dame. So it'll be a test for both schools to see because both of them got their questions. One's at quarterback, one's around their entire roster. We'll see. Next, I have Georgia Tech. I really like Haynes King. Haynes King, I'm a big fan of. That's just the way he played that game against Georgia last year. He was able to run and throw the ball. If he could just be a little bit better of a passer, I think this Georgia Tech team could be really dangerous for some teams. And I know that's a tall ask for a lot of Georgia Tech. A lot of people doubt on Georgia Tech. I'm buying their stock right now. I think they're going to be really good this season. I really like their coach. He's really tough-nosed. He's got a really good quarterback who's got a really good toughness factor. I mean, he was all red in that game against Georgia, and they were right there. They were right there from grabbing it from them. But it's good. There's a lot to look forward to if you're a Georgia Tech fan. So they're number 3 in that conference for me to make the playoffs. And then Louisville, they bring in Miller Moss. They put the quarterback whisperer Jeff Brom gets another one. I think Miller Moss is going to be a dog for this team. Obviously, for transfer from USC, his first start there was a 5-touchdown performance against, I can't remember. I want to say it's Oklahoma, but I don't think it was. But I would really love to see Miller Moss just go to Louisville and have a type of season that Tyler Shuck did. I mean, Shuck would transfer from all over the place, and he had his breakout year at Louisville. Miller Moss got benched for Jaden Maiava at the end of last season because of turnover problems, and he comes to see Jeff Brom, who's a quarterback whisperer. And I think Jeff Brom's going to make Miller Moss a really good quarterback. I really think Miller's got that moxie in him, got that dog in him to be a solid quarterback for the Cards. And I think their roster's all around good too. They have Isaac Brown, one of the best running backs in the country, so be on the lookout for that. He's going to be a really good rushing attack for the Cardinals. So the Louisville Cardinals are a dark horse in my book to make the playoffs. They need a lot to happen for them to be able to do this, but they have all the capabilities in the world to do it. They have Miller Moss can capitalize on not turning the ball over and making right decisions, and then the rushing game is a big factor. I think this team's a really big chance to make the playoffs. All right, let's go to the last conference. Everybody knows it. The SEC, second best conference in the country. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I did, but I don't mean it. I think this conference is also really good. A lot of teams in here, a lot of teams that can make the playoffs. Be on the lookout for teams like Florida. If they can win their tough schedule, they can make it. They get teams like Texas A&M. If they can not have an 8-4 season for once, they can make the playoffs. There's a lot of teams who are just right there. I mean, you can go back through all the conferences. You could say the same thing for. No, Florida State's still a year away. They need to recover. So is North Carolina. I know they have Bill Belichick, but there's no way. The teams in the SEC are really, really good. And I'd be surprised if one of them is not in the national championship or makes it to the quarterfinals. For the SEC, I have Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Texas. I mean, those are the first 4 teams that come to mind in everybody's head when you think of the SEC for playoff chances this season. Alabama, obviously, just named their starting quarterback. But they have a starting quarterback. It'll be interesting to see what Kalen DeBoer could do for his team this year. They have Ryan Grubb coming back from Seattle, coming back to coach with DeBoer. He was offensive coordinator for that Washington Huskies team that went to the national championship. Ty Simpson is the quarterback's name. He's now the starter. They have Ryan Williams, really standout receiver from last year. He's 18 years old now. Can't make that 17-year-old call anymore. Sorry, Reese Davis. I think this Bama team's got a lot of talent that if they don't make the playoffs this year, there's going to be some mumbles about can Kalen DeBoer really take this team to the playoffs? Is this falling apart? No, I think they make the playoffs this year. I think they restore that faith into the Alabama Tide faithful, and maybe they make a run. I don't know. It all depends on how Ty Simpson and that offense can click and get moving, because obviously they're gonna have a decent defense. They need to be more physical up front though to really make some damage, because they can't get pushed around like they did last year. Interesting to see what's going on in Tuscaloosa this season. And then you got Georgia. Georgia's got they lost Carson Beck to the portal. They have Gunnar Stockton, who stepped in for that playoff game, who really all didn't do that bad. I know he got his head knocked off not even 2 weeks prior to playing in that game, but it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I want to see how Zachariah Branch does for that team. All the new weapons they brought in off the transfer portal. How is Gunnar Stockton able to make this offense more electric, more of a threat to the defense than it was last year? Because obviously, having Arian Smith drop a 7-yard bomb was something they saw way too much last season. They brought in new receivers. I mean, I know Arian Smith's still out there. He's still a good playmaker. Zachariah Branch from USC, that's going to be really good for Gunnar Stockton, who's going into his first full season starting. Really looking, I know Georgia, and you obviously know that Kirby Smart's going to have a good defense for Georgia. It's just a given. They're going to have that one game against like Georgia Tech where they give up 40 points and still pull out a win by 2 because the offense, it just can't be stopped. So be on the lookout for that. Garrett Nussmeier, high Heisman potential. He's really high on people's quarterback draft boards, and everybody's saying that this is Brian Kelly's year to make the national championship. They have a really deep receiver room, really deep defensive line. They're really happy with their offensive line. What I'm hearing, the weapons around him, Nussmeier, they're really looking good for the Tigers. It's just I believe. You don't even need to go into the roster that much. I believe that the problems of this LSU team and why they haven't been able to meet their expectations is it all rests on Brian Kelly's shoulders. All rests. And this is, yes, there might be some Notre Dame bias, but I've seen too many big games where Brian Kelly went into a game where they were favored and they got blown out or they lost or whatever. If LSU can make the playoffs, or it's going to be because of the decisions that Brian Kelly makes. So we'll see how it pans out for the Tigers this season. And then the last team, we have the Texas Longhorns. Arch Manning, first name that comes to mind. He's going to be the starting quarterback. It's going to be really interesting to see what he does this season. I think he's going to be outstanding. He's going to be electric. His first games against Ohio State, at Ohio State, like I said earlier, going to be a big test for him. I mean, his first full season starting. It's his ship to drive now. We'll see how he can get Texas to the playoffs again this season. Obviously, they have a really good defensive line. I really like their secondary. Michael Taft comes back for his either 5th or 6th year. It's going to be an interesting season for the Longhorns, especially after they lost a lot of their I want to say a lot of their offensive linemen. They're not really worried about it. Steve Sarkisian hasn't said anything that he's been concerned about his offensive line, even though in their most latest scrimmage they struggle moving the ball. But that's because Texas' defensive line is ridiculous. Everybody knows this. Texas is going to be. They're obviously really good. They're ranked number 1 in the AP poll and the coaches poll. It's going to be fun in Austin, Texas this year. I'm telling you that. So Texas fans, buckle up. It's going to be. I think Arch Manning's a real deal. So be ready for that. But those are my teams that have the highest percentage to make the playoffs in my book. You let me know what you guys think. I know there was this comment that was calling us idiots because we thought UCLA is going to lose to UNLV. Yeah, we probably are stretching on that one, but I like Dan Mullen. But we'll see. Only time can tell. But that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate all the listeners and all of our supporters who have gotten us to episode, I think this is like 64, 65. I lost count. But thank you for thank you for all your support throughout these episodes. And remember, we have that merch store. Go get some shirts. I would really appreciate it. I don't make a dime off it. It just helps my cousin's wife. So help her small business and then help market our brand. We'd really appreciate that. And remember, we don't know ball. You don't know ball. We all don't know ball. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.